I'm going to assemble a custom configured mechanical keyboard. If I can do it, you can too. Hello and welcome to Rusty Brown Photography. So glad you guys are here. I've never assembled any type of keyboard before, but now I find myself in a situation where I'll have to do just that. My PC setup here is critical to the overall success of my photography workflow. I have a separate video on my exact workflow, and I'll put a card here if you're interested. Also, last year I did a major overhaul of my main PC setup to include the CLX PC, the monitors, all of it. I'm going to put a card here for that too. But what that overhaul did not address is the keyboard situation, right? My existing keyboard, it needs to be replaced. It's a mechanical keyboard. It's called a DAS or DAS Cherry Blue Mechanical. So DAS keyboard is the manufacturer, Cherry is the style, Blue is the switch. But first, let's talk about what a mechanical keyboard actually is. At its core, a mechanical keyboard is a computer keyboard that uses a dedicated physical switch beneath every single key, unlike a traditional keyboard with a single rubber pressure pad. So when you think about a traditional keypad, for example, keyboard, it's basically a flat, it's a flat surface that has a membrane at the bottom, and then it has a rubber-like surface on top of that, and then your keys sit really close to the rubber, and then the rubber has a little, like a small bubble on it, right? Oops, sorry about that. It has a little bubble on it. So when you depress the key, you pop the bubble, which sends the signal through that membrane that you just pressed L, K, whatever it was. Take a look at this photo. You have a shelf, right, which is the bottom board, which is usually metal, aluminum or something of that nature. Then you have the PCB board. This is where the position of each letter or symbol is located, right there on the board. That's where the actual electronics of it are stored. Then the board has these cutouts for each key position. Above those cutouts are where the switches go. They're individual, one switch for each position, right? And the switch is placed, basically it's pushed or seated into position. Right, so that's how the switches get into the PCB board. Now, if you take a look at this photo, you'll see that the individual keycaps, which are the letters that we see on the keyboard, they're actually snapped onto the switch. So by depressing the key, you send a mechanical mechanism, which is the switch, straight down, into the board, thus rendering the result of a key strike. A mechanical keyboard provides feedback in two forms, right? You'll feel the pressure and the depth with each position. So as you type, you feel the pressure. There's some pressure coming back at you from each key, right? That's number one. In addition to the feel of the key going down, you'll also get an audible return, which is a click or a something. In some keyboards it's called a thunk. In other keyboards there's a noise, there's a sound that tells you that you went all the way down and you struck that. So for me, with my key strikes, it's going to be a click based on the type of switch that I have. So let's talk about this just for a second, right? I'm an old school typist. By that I mean, someone who just types. I learned how to type in what in my day was called junior high school, but today is referred to as middle school. And when I went into the military for the first 10 years, a great part of what I did involved typing. We used to use machines called teletypes, and these machines were big, and they got hot. You sat at them and you literally typed. So the way it would work is you're at a particular base. If a message had to get from your base to another base, someone would bring that message that they had already typed up, more times than not on a manual typewriter. They would bring it to us because we worked in what's called the message center. And then it would come to me and those on my team, and we would basically set it up and we would actually type it into the teletype, which would send it out across the wire to where it had to go. Well, those large teletypes eventually, gave way to what's known as electric typewriters, like the old school IBM Selectric. And whether it was the teletype or the old Selectric typewriters, there was key distance travel, for lack of a better term, as you typed. So for those first 10 years or so, for me, it was an awful lot of typing. The modern day keyboards, they're soft. There's no depth to them at all. And I have one here. Let me show you my Mac keyboard. Oops, sorry about that. I have two. So this is the keyboard to the Mac Pro, which is a tower that I have. It's whisper thin. You can look right down the line and you can barely see any depth in those keys. Extremely lightweight, USB-C Thunderbolt, connected, long battery life, very convenient, easy to type on, right? But it's not made for continuous typing because there's really nothing to it. But this speaks to what I was talking about a moment ago. It's so thin, there's a membrane in the bottom with a slight piece of rubber on top, and by just depressing one of these keys like that, you are sending the signal to. So when I say soft, that's what I'm talking about, right? So I believe that most modern day keyboards are just soft like that. Using a mechanical keyboard, it gives me that old typewriter and teletype feel because of the feedback provided, right? So let's talk about my current situation. Here I have, this is a DAS Cherry keyboard, like I mentioned before. This one is about 6 years old, and the reason that I say I have to replace it is it used to have a tactile surface on the keys, and I've typed so much on it that tactile feel is all gone. It's quite slick now, so it needs to be replaced. And I did look to DAS when I started thinking about the replacement, but in my opinion, they haven't kept up with the demands of keyboards today. I do believe that they're still primarily focused on office-style keyboards like this, which are always wired. When I got into mechanical keyboards, I didn't fully understand the nature of the different types of switches, meaning the color that's associated with the name of the switch dictates the type of switch and how much pressure and how much sound comes from that, right? So I'll show you one as an example. This is a DAS keyboard like that one, right? Like, let's take a quick look at it. If I open this box and show this to you, there it is. That looks very much like the one that's on my desk. This one is older than that one, however, because when I thought I knew what I was doing, I ordered this and it came, and I typed on it for about 90 days, and I was like, something doesn't feel right. It felt off. It felt not soft, but it was quiet. And where is it? Here's why. If you look carefully here, it tells you, whoa, look out. It tells you that this is a cherry brown switch. So what it means is the keyboard, the footprint, the layout is all the same, but the switches underneath the keycaps are what's known as brown, and they are quieter. So in 2019, I didn't know that I could have did a couple of things, because these keyboards are mechanical. I could have just ordered the right type of switch because I wanted it louder. I wanted the click, and the brown didn't give me that. So instead of doing that, I put the cherry brown back in the box, ordered one that was cherry blue, and I've been happy up until now. Now, here's another thing that I could do today that I decided not to do, which I could just, order new keycaps. Right? The switches are fine. They are blue switches. They do make the click that I like. So I could just order these keys and replace them. But because I need a new keyboard, I'm like, okay, this is a great opportunity to dive deeper into what would really work best for me here. And part of the decision to move away from DAS is just the lack of innovation. And I'm not taking shots at them, but the lack of innovation towards what would work or what would give me better options today. All right, so what I mean by that is I need a multi-purpose keyboard. Like I said, I have 2 completely independent PCs, and I'd like to reclaim a little bit of the desk real estate, you know, from both of these, because with 2 complete PCs, there's also 2 complete keyboards, right? So I'm looking for a keyboard now that could drive my main machine here, which is the custom built CLX, but at the same time drive this Mac Pro behind me. I did an exhaustive amount of research and searching to get to understand better what I need. And let me take a moment here just to say big thanks to mechanicalkeyboards.com. I'm probably going to mention them again before this video is over, but they were extremely helpful in my search. Again, you're talking about somebody who understood that they like and enjoy a mechanical keyboard, but have never had to build one. And I looked at some other sites, and one, for example, was, I think it was called ThoughtKing.com. Decent site with decent stuff, but I found their response times not good. And then the information that I got from them I thought was quite old. So I kept searching, and everything that I'm going to show you here today came from mechanicalkeyboards.com. And one of the things that I liked about them was they seemed to carry all these different brands, and all I had to do was understand what I wanted, and then I could pick from these different brands and basically put something custom together. Now, my preference is what's known as an 80% TKL with blue switches. What does that mean? An 80% keyboard means, like on a full-size keyboard like this one, you have a numeric keypad, and I don't need that. I don't use that. So if you were to cut off just the numeric keypad, and you've probably seen these before on some keyboards, you know, I'll show you this one just so you can see, because I'm going to disconnect it here. But it's on the far right side where all the numbers are. And I don't need that anymore. So if you take away that, your keyboard becomes 80% of its size. However, you can remove that TKL and have it even smaller, like what is it, like a 75%. So in a 75%, you don't have the numeric keypad, but the keys are closer together, kind of squished. So I'm looking for basically just blue switches, which gives me the click, and I wanted a TKL 80, right? I also wanted it pre-assembled with those switches, but those today are very hard to find. You know, everywhere I looked, there was a lot of different combinations of good keyboards with all these different kinds of switches. While I was looking, I could not find a TKL 80 with blue switches. Right? So that meant I needed to purchase the board and the switches independently so that I could do my own thing. Well, that led me to think, you know, why not get a little froggy and start looking into the actual keys themselves and the keycaps. Again, this is something that you could do at mechanicalkeyboards.com, because they also sell keycaps separately. Now, most standard keyboards come with, black keys and white letters, just like mine does. They're tapered at the bottom, or they're wider at the bottom, and they come up to the top. Okay, fair enough. But I found a beautiful set of white keycaps that, while they're tapered at the bottom, they're still a bit wider at the top than the DAS ones are, and they have a slightly deeper pocket. Now, when I talk about the pocket, I'm talking about at the very top of the key where your finger is touching. It's a little deeper, so you get a little more sense of, yeah, that's the letter that I wanted to strike. It's not flat on the top. It's a little concave. And this particular color combo, that I found has the contrast that these old eyes need. And I hope I'm not butchering the name, but you'll look at it in the description below. But it's called the Tai-Hao, or Tai-Hao, Tai-Hao, 128 key double shot cubic keycap set, and it's called White BOW. And this is the card that comes with it. White BOW means black over white, which in essence basically means that instead of black keys with white letters, they're white keys with black letters, and I found that contrast to be really, really good. That entire set for 128 keys was 18 bucks, right? So while and here's the other key thing too. I was looking for a set of the blue Clicky switches, and I stumbled upon something called Box Autumn. These Box Autumn switches, they're a step up from blue switches in that the click is sharp. It's not hollow, and you know, you'll hear. I'll give you a sound test once I get done with the build. So with that in mind, I went to the it's called Kailh Box Autumn 50G Clicky PCB mount switches, right? Box Autumn, and I bought 100 of them for 60 bucks. So because they're PCB mount switches, remember what we talked about when we looked at the board? That PCB is the actual board, so these PCB mount switches go directly on it, and these were called Box Autumn, so these are a different kind of Clicky. Again, so you know, 60 bucks for that. For the keyboard, I found an 80% TKL from Keychron. It's called the K8 Max Aluminum TKL Hot Swappable Wireless with Keychron Super Brown switches. I said a lot there, but let's unpack that for a second. So it's an 80% board, doesn't have the numeric keypad. It's also the wireless, which means it gives me the opportunity to drive both systems from the same keyboard. So now here's the key. The key. You see what I said there? No pun intended. The board itself that I purchased is actually plug and play, right out of the box, right? You could take it out, you could plug it in, and you're good to go. I just didn't want it in that configuration. Now, although I bought it knowing I'd be putting in the Box Autumn switches, what I failed to realize until it was too late is that I could have purchased the board in a configuration that's called bare bones, right? With no switches and no keycaps, because think about it, I bought the entire Keychron K8 with keys and brown switches, and I'm replacing all of that. So I wasn't smart enough to recognize the right thing to do there. So I bought a fully configured keyboard for 125 bucks. So that's the system. That's the board, that's the switches, that's the keycaps. So what I want to do now is I want to go downstairs, let's unbox all of them and put the keyboard together. You ready? All right, let's go. It's quite the beauty. You saw the the version of the unboxing and putting together. I just sped that up obviously because it took some time. Probably took me about an hour and a half taking my time. It's dense, it's got good weight. I think it comes in right around 4 pounds. When I was talking about that contrast, I mean, think about that, right? The BOW, the black over white, it looks amazing. It's smaller, obviously, because the Kailh, there are no numbers on this side. So let's connect it, right, and see what we got. So I'm going to go ahead and connect it, because I'm going to be connecting USB-C. I'm going to talk about that just for a sec. You get multiple ways to connect this guy. It's a Bluetooth. You can go Bluetooth, but you also get a Keychron proprietary dongle, and you get a USB-C connection. So this is not going to be a portable keyboard by any means for me. It's replacing something that's permanent. I do 80% of my work at this workstation, 20% on the Mac. So I don't have a problem having it cable connected. The other thing is, if you don't cable connect it and you just go with the Bluetooth or the Keychron proprietary dongle, at some point you're going to have to charge it, right? I mean, it's a USB keyboard just like the Mac that I showed you earlier. So for me, I'm going to have this permanently USB-C connected to the main computer, and then what I've done is I've placed the Keychron proprietary dongle into the Mac. So what I want to do now is I'm going to connect it, and hopefully it'll come up here on the main one, and then I'll throw a switch, because there's a switch on the side. You can switch from Windows PC to Mac with just the throw of one switch, and we should see this guy come up in the back. So we've got the USB-C connected. Now what I'm going to do first is I'm going to throw the switch in the up position, and it should fire up the Mac, if that is the Mac position. There you see it, just like that. Now that is, remember, that is the Keychron proprietary dongle connected there. And if I come down to Windows PC and I hit that, and there it is, it's come up, and it's now, so right now this keyboard is driving both machines, right? So again, just as a recap, USB-C, right, to the main machine, proprietary dongle from Keychron to the other. And it's really just that simple. Hopefully when you looked at the BTS of me doing the putting the keys on, you saw that the keycaps came in two different rows. So that whole top row that I showed you there was all of the main keys. The bottom, when you flipped it up, the bottom piece of that was the extra keys, the things that you may or may not need when you're doing your thing. So for me, I put a couple of gray caps in there and one with nothing on it, because I won't be using that. So with that, right, here's a new look at what my desktop looks like. Yeah, so you can see now that the desk looks a little bit cleaner. I've got the one keyboard there that's driving both machines. You take a look over on what I call the Mac side, and there's not a keyboard there anymore. None of that stuff is there, not even the mouse, because my Logitech mouse will drive both machines. What I like to do now is I like to do a quick test of this. Now with that, it's going to let you hear what it sounds like, hopefully. But remember, I'm a true typist. Now, to be fair, I haven't had to take a typing test in a long time. We stopped doing that, message center type of technology between 84 and 86. At 86, we were pretty much all computerized. So now we would get the same types of messages, but they would come to us via an email, and we could just clean it up and send it out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch over to the B camera, and I'm going to bring up just a typing test, and I'm going to see what I got. So just so you understand the measure, I think I still have the muscle memory, but obviously I haven't had to type for a typing test in a long time. At my best, early 80s in London, I was about 120 words per minute. At the time that I took the last test, which was probably in '86, I was right around 90. So I don't even know if I can hit 50 anymore. It's not important. I just like to get the feel. So here we go. This is going to be the first big typing test here. It should have numbers. It's going to be a 60-second, 1-minute test. It'll give you the opportunity to hear what the box autumn switches sound like, and it'll give me an opportunity to see how well the typing is going to go. So we're going to click on this right here, and you see the cursor flashing. So once I get going, everything is going to start. Ready? Give a listen. Here we go. There we have it. Test is done. 60 seconds, 1 minute. That's not too bad. Better than I anticipated at 78 words a minute with 96% accuracy. The raw score was 81 a minute, which really blows me away. But as you can see by the graph, I had a couple of errors, and I'm not familiar with this particular typing test. So in some cases, you're allowed to backspace and type the correction if you know you hit the wrong key, but this was not the case. So in a 60-second test, you know, I was able to get 78 words a minute. You know, after accounting for the errors, that's actually pretty good. I'm good with that. So, an old school typist needs keyboard feedback, and this felt really good. I don't just like the way it looks, I like the way it sounds. I like the tension that I have with the keys when I'm typing. It was all quite exhilarating to be the first time that I've actually, you know, used that keyboard. So that's pretty impressive. I want to show you what an autumn, what do you call it, a box autumn switch and a brown switch looks like. So the box autumn, there's not many in here because that's what I put inside the keyboard, but I'll grab one. They're exceptionally small. The bottom of it has little metal pieces, and that's the part that goes down into the PCB. And if you look carefully at the top, what you see that looks like a cross, that is what seats the key. So this switch goes into the board, and the keycap goes on top of that. And this is what's left of the box autumn. And you probably saw them as I was putting them, you know, on the keyboard. These are all of the browns, all of the brown switches that I took out of the Keychron, and they're brown on top. This is the bit right here that the keycap goes on, and then the bottom piece here, which goes into the actual PCB board. So for these browns, I'm actually going to be giving these away. MechanicalKeyboard.com has a really good Discord site with a lot of people who are into mechanical keyboards. These are all brand new. I figure I might as well give them to somebody who can use them. There are a lot of people who like the brown switch because it is quieter. Now technically this looks like a keyboard, doesn't it? But these are the actual keys that came off of the original K8. So talking about these keyboards, I have a bonus giveaway. If you've stayed this long, I have something that may interest you. This is this Mac keyboard that I showed you before. It's very little use. Like I say, I didn't use it much at all because I can't do much typing on it. So it has original, like I said, USB-C port on it. I'm going to give this away to anyone who has a Mac. I'm also going to give you the original mouse, which is here somewhere, and the actual black braided charging cable. So what I'm looking for though is I just want to give it away to somebody who has a real need for it. So here's the way this is going to work. If you're interested in getting this, all I'm asking you to do is pay for the shipping. I will give it to you for free. I will box it up and ship it to you. But here's what I want, and this is important. You have to contact me via email. My email address is in the show notes below. Email only. And in that email, send me a picture of your current Mac setup, whatever it is, and one picture, and tell me why you think you need or what you would do with this sleek, very slim Mac keyboard. And I'm just going to pick one at random. So once it's gone, it's gone. But I figure that there may be somebody who can get more out of this than I've gotten. And I've had it now for 2 years and haven't used it much at all. If you're into movies, and I am, I'm really into the Marvel Cinematic Universe and the Avengers. And the Avengers, they had a slogan that was basically, whatever it takes. And I think that slogan applies to what you and I do in our individual workspace. You should make your workspace fit your needs, no matter how detailed or how trivial. And for the longest time, mine was close, but it didn't really fit. I didn't need that super large keyboard. I didn't need the numeric keypad. And I just settled for what I wanted in the sound. And all this time, I could have done, much more. So take a look at your own situation with regards to whatever it takes. And if you ask yourself with regards to mechanical keyboards, who is this actually for nowadays that no one has to type the way that I did 40 years ago? I think programmers, right? I think people that are coding, you need that type of auditory response and that type of tension when you're just doing lines and lines of code. I also think gamers, and while I am a gamer, I'm a console gamer. I don't game here even though I have a gaming PC. To that end, you could customize your own keyboard even further, right? Because you could change up the keys that mean something, like this particular one means, you know, throw the grenade, or this one means, you know, take a shot, or this one means, you know, jump off a bridge. You can do that level of customization if it's something that you want to do with your own, right? I really thought I'd be able to find a pre-assembled keyboard. I did. And even then when I couldn't, I asked mechanicalkeyboards.com if I could pay them. Like, I literally offered, hey, do you have an extra fee, maybe 25 or 40 bucks that I could just pay you, where I pick all the things that I want and you put it together? But they don't do that anymore. I wasn't planning on doing this build myself, but I want to assure you that once I realized it was the only way to get what I wanted, that I found the entire process easy, straightforward, and totally doable. One thing I'll note here too is that the keyboard has an RGB system in it that very much rivals the RGB system in my CLX, you know, PC. And I'll show you while I'm talking about this, but there's so many different lighting combinations that you can use with this, but the key to remember is it's lighting the board. The keycaps themselves are not translucent. What that means is, like, I just bought a new laptop several months ago, thankfully, before the big run on memory came and the prices went through the roof. And when I bought that laptop, I got one that also has white keys, but it has the letter itself. When you turn on the RGB, the light shines through the letter. That's important with a laptop because I'm going to be in different places where I can't control the light like here. So I could be in a very dark place or a place that's so bright, but I can activate the RGB on the laptop and it literally comes through the letters. That's not the case with this, but it does give you some really cool options with regards to how you want to use RGB. I hope you found this interesting, or you got something good out of it. It's partially about the keyboard, but it's more really rooted in the fact that whatever your workspace is, it has to be your own. And if you can change any portion of it to help you do what you do, whether in your photography, your videography, or any of your production work, take the time to do it. It doesn't cost that much, and you'll be glad you did. I'm looking for years of enjoyment out of that keyboard. And remember, if you're into Macs and you're interested in this one, let me know. Hey, thanks for watching. I look forward to talking to you guys again real soon. Take care.